So it's the end of the year, and as you know, that means that we come out, all the news organizations, all the government organizations come out with their top 10, top 5 lists, roundups of the year, and the Jeju self-governing province is no different, and they've come up with their best 7 tourist attractions of 2023. Now, before we get a look at that, I thought it might be fun to talk about what was your number one destination or place or thing, event that you did this year, Alexis?
Okay. Well, so I did a little stay vacation. I'm just making words up at this point. We haven't redone this in so long.
Yeah.
Staycation, and I went to Seongsang Ilchebong, so Sunrise Peak, and stayed out there for a little while, and thoroughly enjoy that area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seongsang Ilchebong is quite beautiful, and it's less developed than most rest of the Jeju.
The interesting thing is it's growing so quickly, and I will just say this, Sunrise Peak is, like here, but I sort of take from like Seongsan and all the way up. I feel like it's just all kind of one area. I know it's not. Technically, it's Hado and Sewol and all those, but because it's such an easy drive and it's all along the coast there, I just sort of look at that all as one area, especially because us in the cities, the two, you down south, me over here, once you get out there, it's so, it's so far to get there. But once you're there, everything's easy.
What did you do? Did you just chill?
I ate so much food. I ate so much food. There are so many, I would say right now, as far as choices of restaurants, all very unique and all very interesting things out there to eat. And then as far as doing, it's just beautiful. You can't beat the coastal road down there.
Enjoy it while you can now, right? Because that's where all the development's going to be for the airport.
Exactly. Because exactly. And you were saying but already you can see more and more hotels and stuff and more traffic. But still, it's just lovely.
Oh, with the New Year's coming up, you planning to go?
I've been debating that because I like that area so much. I went out there last New Year's or the year before and just hit a couple bars, and it was very fun, very low key. So I'm debating it again this year.
So for our listeners who don't know, Seongsang Ilchebong is the first place in Korea that gets a sunrise on the New Year. So thousands of people go to Seongsang Ilchebong to climb up the tuft cone, I think is technically what it's called, and to be there when the sun rises very early on the first morning of New Year's. I went once, and it's
a
packed.
lot.
It's
packed. Yeah, that's what I think. But honestly, nowadays, because so many people come, pretty much any autumn that looks towards the sunrise now are the popular places to go. So it's not even just Sunrise Peak anymore. It's beaches that see the sun first. It's really everything.
Oh, that's really cool,
especially in that area.
I like that attitude. Like, just because one area is now become maybe overpopulated, there's other avenues to still enjoy.
Yeah.
They
do have a fun party at night that leads into the dawn. So that's kind of nice, bonfires.
Yeah.
So, but what about you? What was your top?
This is less exciting and less
than eating all the food that I ate. Sure.
It has to be the fact that I found that Branksome Hall Asia hockey rink is open. I love that. That's the best. That's the most memorable moment of the year for me, is the fact that I'm now playing
Canadian.
Hockey.
Yes, but it's true. It's true.
They also have public skating, right, on the weekends, and I take my daughter, and there's a bunch of other people that take kids. And
I've been wondering if there was public skating. So is it on right now?
Yeah, it's on all year. The ice is always there, so you can go in the summer and rent a pair of skates and go, because they have skates there to rent.
Yeah,
and go take a twirl. There's a lot of differences between Korean public skating and Canadian public skating that I'm used to. Same thing with the hockey here.
Yeah,
but that's probably the best thing. Easily, hands down, the best thing I did all year was get back on the ice.
I like it. So what did the Jeju government say? Besides ours?
Yeah. So the number one top destination was the Jeju Folklore and Natural History Museum in Seongsan. Have you been?
Oh, wait. Okay. I feel like I've done everything, but I can't. So that was number one?
That was number one. Yeah.
Very cool. That's going on my list to do again.
And to be clear, this list was compiled not by visitors, but by quality. Like it was like experts, they went to them, and there was like input from people, and that's how they decided it. It wasn't open to the public sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I've been many years ago. They've shot movies there, television shows, things like that.
Yeah, I feel like I've also been many years ago, but what I think there's probably been some changes as the years have passed, so it's probably worth it for both of us to go again.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we should. Okay. We can make a day out of it. And number 2 is the Jeju Museum of Art, which I know you're a fan of.
I'm a huge fan. It's a spectacular place. They have really cool exhibits that come through. The outside is beautiful. The inside is beautiful. Yeah, big fan.
I don't think I've been recently.
Yeah, I think there's reason to go. I wish I could stay in touch. I wish I did. Let me rephrase that. I wish I did a better job keeping track of what they're exhibiting, because I could go there. The price is extremely reasonable, especially for Jeju residents. So if I would just stay in touch a little bit more about what they're exhibiting, I would be a regular fan. It is phenomenal.
Number 3 is the Soggipo Healing Forest.
Of course, the walking through barefoot is all the rage right now. Yes.
Well, what is that? Grounding, right?
Grounding.
I saw an article about that.
I have never heard that word before until this year. Now everybody's talking about it.
It's hocus pocus,
but a lot of people love it. It's a lot of people love it.
If it works for you, exactly. It's though life is hard enough, huh? If you can get a little bit of joy from touching grass, go ahead.
Exactly. Go ahead and enjoy that.
Number 4 is the Jeju 4-3 Peace Park, which is
I'm surprised that's number 4. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you get a chance, everyone should go.
Absolutely.
If you come to the island, visit. It's a very informative, but also like the park itself is really nice, and
it's a beautiful piece of land, but it is very informative, so it's worth it.
The Stone Culture Park comes in at number 5. Have you been there?
I've been there numerous times. It's such a big park, and there's so many different aspects of it. Like you could go this way and it's one thing. You could go this way and see the huts. You can go this way and look at the stones of Korea. So it's a lot. I like it a lot, and it's out in a really cool area.
It's an interesting idea, like the fact that somebody said, like, let's have like an outdoor museum sort of dedicated to Jeju stones, right?
And it's just, if anything I'll say about it, it's a beautiful walk.
Yeah, for sure. I've been there a couple times, not recently, but yeah. And the Citrus Museum and Jeju.
Oh, what?
The Jeju Citrus Museum.
I've never even heard of that.
And the Jeju Mukgwanga, which is the Jeju's administrative capital during the Joseon period. Those came in 6 and 7.
Never even heard of them.
Respectively. Yeah,
okay.
No. I've heard of the Jeju Citrus Museum because there's a lot of...
We'll put that on a list to our listeners. Maybe we'll make a list of that and actually put it out on a post, and people can just check it off as they go through. Yeah.
That's good thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now... we actually have very exciting news. We have a treat for all of you. We have a new segment on our show, and we're very honored to have Jung-Young Choi to come back and to join our Miyu and Jeju team for Walking Jeju. So without further ado, let's get to our new segment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for an inaugural segment of Walking Jeju with Jeju Ole's own JY. Thank you so much for being with us. We are so honored to have you now a part of our Miyu and Jeju team.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be on the team and talk about my favorite thing, walking around Jeju.
Yeah, so the purpose of this segment, for people to know, is that it's going to be all about Jeju Ole, which is like the iconic Jeju tourist attraction, symbol, activity, all that. So on our first segment, we would like you, JY, to school us, educate us all about the wonders, the history of Jeju Ole.
Absolutely. And I am always just thrilled to introduce the concept of Jeju Ole because it really started by one woman who had a life-changing experience on the trail in Spain, walking the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James. And she was inspired 16 years ago to create a trail back in her hometown. So 16 years ago, picture a woman just coming out of this really stressful job of becoming a political journalist and editor-in-chief. And she decides to drop everything and go to Spain to walk the pilgrimage of Camino de Santiago. So that was back in 2006. And she completes the 800-kilometer walk and meets many people. And she is renewed. But at the same time, she's like, okay, this trail is missing something. And then she's reminded of her beautiful hometown and the coastal walks. So there she was inspired to come back home to Jeju and create the trail that is Ole to this day. But back in the days, Jeju was a place people came for honeymoon, maybe 4 days max, 3 days max.
Right.
And people would just go from spot to spot and travel by car only, of course, because the bus system wasn't well established here. And so Jeju was just somewhere you fly and enjoy and leave. But then she said, I'm going to create a trail that resembles Camino de Santiago, where people can just walk from point one to another point and enjoy the whole island on foot. And not a lot of people really saw her vision and thought, that's crazy. Why would people want to walk Jeju? But then starting with trail number 1 near the east side of Songsan Sunrise Peak, she built one trail, all just manpower only, no heavy machinery, no concrete, no plastic. And that just one by one, she connected all the trails all around the island, and it's the coastal Ole that is known today. 27 courses, 437 kilometers, including
Amazing.
the 3 islands around the island. And her name is Seo Myung-suk. So started with one lady.
Woman.
Yeah, it started with that one lady, and now the Jeju Ole Foundation is run with 26 full-time staff and all the also partner companies as well.
And volunteers,
Volunteers are essential. Hundreds of volunteers who's been helping out from the very get-go. Yeah,
a massive organization.
How would you describe Seo Myung-suk?
Seo Myung-suk, she is
vibrant.
Vibrant, and I think really creating the trail and just walking and meeting all these people who found the trail changed her as well. So I don't know Seo Myung-suk as a journalist because she was a very heavy smoker, a workaholic. She has a book out about being a lifelong smoker, and you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. But she was in a very stressful situation for most of her adult life, and then to come out of it and just really find herself and be herself, dress as herself, and she just brings joy everywhere she goes.
Yeah. Wow. So she is from Jeju. I didn't realize that. Yes,
actually, she is from Seogwipo. And in fact, her mother had a little store within the Ole market in Seogwipo. And so before it was Ole market, it was just a marketplace down in Seogwipo, and she just had a little supermarket. And, you know, Seo Myung-suk as a teenager, she was like, I can't wait to get out of Jeju. You know, this small island is holding me down. I can't wait to go out of Jeju and see the big world. And that's what she did. She went to Korea University. She got involved in you know, students against the militant government, was jailed a couple of times, and became a political journalist. And you know, was in the game and really in the scene, breaking news. And she had this hunger for, you know, just being the first to bring the breaking news, basically, and really heavy competition. Yeah.
So
interesting.
Is it hard to run into Seo Myung-suk if you happen to be traveling, walking the trail? What is the chances?
Yes,
you can find her at Cafe Maybe.
Yeah, Cafe Maybe is one of her favorite places down near Ijeong-sup. Yeah, Ijeong-sup Street. Definitely. I think I've accidentally run into her a handful of times in the past year. But some people who works full-time at the organization, they never see her.
Yeah.
And then some people who are constantly on the trail will run into her randomly, really. Yeah.
Okay. And before we end our inaugural segment, I would like to, maybe you could explain to everyone what Ole actually is. What is Ole?
That is very important.
Yes.
So Ole is a Jeju word coming from the Jeju language. So Ole is little path that leads from your house to the main road. So when you think about how traditional houses are built, because Jeju is so windy, you can't just build a house against the main road. You have to create a little path, kind of a little maze and then build a house hidden inside from the main path so that your house won't be getting all the wind. And
Keep it
so
protected,
Ole, yeah, keep it protected. So Ole is where a Jeju person meets the world for the first time. Like that's where you put your first step to go out to the world. And so Ole trails are meant to be small, maybe 2-3 persons can walk it because it's quite narrow. And also it'll go through the villages. So it has the meaning of a trail that you will step on to meet the world, but also tiny little path that really goes in front of the house.
Wow, that's a much more romantic, and I just called it a small, like, farmer's road, but that's much more of a romantic explanation than I had.
Oh, yeah. It's just a perspective, yeah.
That's great. And so where can everybody find you? Where can people learn about your Ole travels?
Oh, for my Ole travels, through Me, You, and Jeju podcast, of course, because I really haven't really documented my travels, and I haven't through hiked it again because I through hiked it back in 2010. I haven't revisited all the trails, and the trails are constantly changing. Today we announced another tiny route change in one of the routes because sometimes the private landowners, they change their mind and they're like, okay, no more Ole in my land anymore. So there's always shift and changes, and that's the nature of trail. And so it's always changing. But really, listen to Me, You, and Jeju and Walking Jeju with JY segments. Also, you can come on and visit my Instagram handle, Jeju_Jade, or go to Jeju Ole Trails Instagram at Jeju Ole Trail.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being a part of our team.
We're very excited about where this is going to take us. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And listeners, you heard it here first. If you want to learn about JY's travels on the Ole Trail, come back to us soon. Okay. As we have said before, Jeju has more crime per capita than anywhere else in Korea. And I don't think people realize that, because they always get the propaganda, the positive propaganda about Jeju being, no thief, no whatever the 3 absences are. And one of them is there's no thieves. But lo and behold, that's not the case. There actually is quite a bit of crime, and interesting crime, to say the least.
I think that's a very good way to phrase that. I think especially for any foreigners, I think when we move here, there's just a sense of safety, and the crime, like you said, it just seems so low to us that it just has this air of, and we're not coming home and watching Korean news every day. So for us foreigners, it just has this air of like, yeah, nothing ever happens here. But you're right. That whole stealing. What was the rice stealing? The sugar.
The 4 trucks of
Jesus.
4 trucks of salt.
Salt. Oh my gosh, I went from flour to I don't even know what I was saying. Yeah, but I mean that's interesting crime, and I think we we have a new little rash of interesting crime.
Yeah. Well, this one's like fresh from Monday, because I'm getting all the police reports and I'm compiling them and finding what I think might be interesting to our readers.
So this is from Monday. Okay.
Yeah, this is from Monday, December 11th. For those who, when you're listening to this, police arrested 2 juveniles on charges of habitual theft of stealing vehicles and driving them around Jeju.
But not just 2, right?
That's only.
I thought there was more.
No. 2 people, but they committed the crime at least 20 times between October 25th and December 9th. They stole 4 vehicles, at least 4 vehicles, and 9 motorcycles, and drove them around Jeju without licenses.
Why should Korea be any different? Joyriding is all the rage in every countryside place you've ever lived in. Like if you live in the country of the States, people joyride. And Jeju is the country of Korea. So...
yeah, I suppose.
Joyriding is the thing.
I always thought that Jeju would be a really dumb place to steal a car on, right?
Well, you can't go anywhere. I suppose.
Exactly.
I read that article. One of the interesting things was that when they were trying to escape, that they got stuck in one of the infamous Jeju alleyways, and I shouldn't laugh. I should not laugh, but it was so funny to just read it that they were going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and trying to get out of the alleyway. So that
you want to feel bad?
Yes. No, I don't want to feel bad. Am I going to feel bad?
2 police officers were injured in the
slightly
kerfuffle.
injured. They just said they say bruised.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel too bad about giggling a little bit.
Yeah,
Bruised,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, no, and one was arrested, and I don't understand what happened yet. The police report says one was arrested then on the 9th, and the second one was arrested on the 10th.
So it feels like when I read that, I guess it felt like someone ran and got away, and the other one wasn't able to get away, and then gave the other one up.
Yeah,
I mean that's just speculation, but
it was caught on video. But I couldn't find the
link. Yeah,
the CCTV camera anywhere. Now this one is actually more interesting, or more, maybe not interesting is the right word, more says more about the island.
Okay.
Well, last time we talked about crime, we talked about the drug problems on Jeju, the drug problems, right?
Yeah.
And how the drug crimes have increased from 113 people being arrested last year, which is an increase of 22% from 93 people in 2020. But at the end of last month, 3 people were arrested. 2 of the 3 people that were arrested were manufacturing meth on top of their roof. Right? Like that's a
well, so I'll just say this. Meth has been in this country. People constantly get shocked by that because Korea in general has like such a no tolerance. It's such a high jail rate and high fine.
Mm-hmm.
But meth has been in Korea for a extremely long time. Sure. So it's not surprising to me that it's come down here and they feel like they can get away with it more.
Yeah, it was two adults in their 50s who were manufacturing on the roof, and they did it. They produced 20 grams of methamphetamine between mixing pharmaceuticals that they got like at the local pharmacy with chemicals. And they did this at least 10 times, right? Producing whatever, some from themselves and some for the other people. And they got caught because somebody who they gave it to was either apprehended by the police or went to the police with the information and, got back to them. And it's just, Jeju is cracking down on drugs. And that's the reason why I wanted to more highlight this story, is the fact that maybe there is more to this. Like we kind of chuckle at the fact that there was 115 drug crimes, but this is just 2 people. One person said they learned it via the internet how to make meth.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, how else do you learn anything anymore, right?
Yeah.
But we're close to China, which is where you get the precursor chemicals from to make this sort of stuff. And so it's interesting. It's just something I'm going to keep an eye on it to see how often this comes up, how many times people get arrested for producing meth. If they do, it'll be interesting to see if that happens, because the police are actually offering rewards
to turn people in.
If you know anybody who are doing drugs, have drugs.
Sketchy when you have people trying to get society to turn on other. It's always a little bit sketchy.
Especially something with drugs, which is like, I mean, we both have similar opinions, I think, about it, which is it's sometimes people use it for to medicate and to Korea has a very high alcoholism
I think
problem.
We've talked about weed versus, I mean, meth is that now you're treading dangerous territory. Yeah.
Sure.
But it's also interesting that weed was the only thing for especially when we moved here, was the only thing the government was focused on. And then meanwhile, the date rape drugs got really out of hand. What was that that was pre-COVID?
Yeah.
That was real sketch, where you could just get date rape drugs online and get them delivered. And meanwhile, so they're so focused on weed and marijuana that all the other things, it just seemed like we're just passing by,
And the third one is something that I think that people should
third crime
that people should be just like know about has to do with gambling. Gambling on
illegal
Jeju.
gamble rings?
No, legal gambling. But so like all these casinos, who can go to them?
Sure.
Non-Koreans.
Not Koreans. Only people with foreigner passports.
Exactly. Right. And because since COVID, there's been an increase in gambling. Like gambling hasn't like gone up every year. I see it all every month. I see all the numbers about how much money these casinos make.
Oh, really?
And they're making the money from non-Koreans. But there's also an increase in non-Koreans who are extorting money and starting to do like
cheating?
interest loan sharks on the island. And there's a steadily, you see it, there's a steadily, I don't have the full numbers on me right now, but of like every once in a while, they're like 3 people arrested for this and that. And so in late November, 5 non-Koreans, they mentioned their nationality, but I think we can assume what it is, but I don't want to play into that. Were arrested for trying to extort interest from other non-Koreans they had lent money to at more than like 10%, is I think of what the police report said. And there was like fighting in front of the casino, and it's becoming may become a bigger problem, and
bigger
it's something
issue,
and the other reason why I mention it is not just because of this crime, but the other crime that's associated with that sort of, extortion, which is mafia.
Right.
So, and I'm curious to know if there's more to this than just
what
this
the newspaper,
one story, or if it's just extortion for, lending.
That's definitely interesting.
Yeah. But that's it for our crime corner or crime beat.
Let's not make that a regular thing. But all right,
no.
And that's all, folks.
Yeah. On December 4th, South Korea launched a rocket into space off the southern coast of Jeju, thrusting our Isle of Jeju not only into the space industry, but into the space race with North Korea. Now, before we get into the more details about the specifics of this launch, I want to ask you, Alexis, how do you feel about this?
I think it's exciting. I was like, how do I answer this? I think it's exciting, but I grew up in the era of also like the space race was so much a part of our lives. Like school would stop and we'd turn on the TVs and we'd watch things live. And so for me, it just seems so exciting. And right. I would love, I have never, even being from the States, I've never witnessed live a launching. I would love to have a chance to see something like that live.
So my next question is, did you see the launch?
I did not see the launch, but next time it happens, there's no way I'm not canceling everything and calling out for work. I will be at the next one. I will. Or somewhere to watch it. Yeah.
You
saw it out your window, hey?
That's exactly what I was getting at, because it was my first day back to work from vacation. I had gone away, came back on Friday.
Jet lagged. And on my list of things to do was to call all the space industry, places about the upcoming launches, because I knew they were coming. And that afternoon, I was about to call it, and then I heard like this thunder. Yeah.
And my window shook.
So cool.
It was, and you could feel it in your chest, right? Like it was like something I'd never felt before, and you just saw this thing streaking through the sky, and it was incredible. It was truly incredible, and I was so angry because my job is to be there at the launch site.
And it just didn't. But you got a good video at your, what was it, your bathroom window or something?
No, my bedroom window.
Your bedroom window, you got the video, yeah.
My dog was going crazy, but it feels like it's coming from inside of your chest, the rumbling.
I'm so excited. I can't, very cool. Right? Very cool.
See, that's the way I feel about it too. I'm very interested in it.
Yeah.
But this was a South Korean Ministry of Defense launch, right?
Which is a difference,
Well, it's a test flight. It was the third test flight of a solid fuel space rocket with intentions to put a spy satellite into low Earth orbit, right?
Right.
And so
that's a different thing.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit before about how there's a space industry on Jeju and it's developing, and there's going to be future launches in the future. It's soon.
Future launches in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I love it. I love future launches in the future. But yeah, it's going to be different kind of launches.
They're going to be commercial.
Yeah, right.
This one did put a satellite into space,
right?
Commercial satellites, but they're going to be building like Perigee. I called them because they were supposed to have a flight before the end of this year, but they told me now that it's moved into the first half of next year.
Yeah.
So, but they're going to be a domestic, commercial SpaceX akin type company. So they want to put satellites for other companies into space for, dirt bottom dollar, $3 million a thing was their thing. But
dirt bottom dollar. Oh God. Okay.
I had sent
we won't be on those flights. But
no,
okay.
no. I think those rockets are actually quite tiny. Like you could
Yeah.
hold them in your hand like this, right? Like
yeah.
But the one that we saw at our window as a point gesture to an audio format was a massive rocket.
No, that was a big one.
Yeah. And now I sent out a request on our social media platforms for input, for comments, for what people think about this. And we heard back from a self-proclaimed space enthusiast and Jeju Island resident, Mary Beth Gainey, and she had this to say.
So in regards to the new launching site in Jeju, I'm 100% in support of this. I didn't hear anything about a launch pad being built or even a launch scheduled, so it really took me by surprise. But hopefully in the future, information will be easier to come by. I would love to see a launch in person. I'm sure there are plenty of other people who would as well.
That's exactly what you were saying, right?
Exactly. I think that was the overwhelming reaction, I think, from most foreigners was like, what? What happened? And when? And how do we get more information? Like, so that was pretty much a standard.
All we got, all that I noticed of it was
let's explain, because you are a press. So all the press got.
Oh no! We all got it. Everybody on our phones got.
I thought you were talking about the other updates.
No,
yes.
I didn't get anything like that.
Yeah, we just got the text announcement.
Text announcements that said within the next 2 hours there'll be a rocket launch, and it's in Korean. And most people just ignore those things because we get them for a little bit of rain.
Right.
So I know people that
are just like, okay, never mind.
I know people that were like in the elevator when it happened. And I don't know how that happened. I know somebody who was in the elevator when that happened, and they thought like there was like an attack, like a rocket.
That's not. Jeez, can you imagine? Yeah, I will say, I think that I did speculate as to why it wasn't more news. Like if they didn't want interference, or I did speculate, because to me, I thought that was a big. Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit tired now. So of course, all my English, it was they dropped the ball on letting people know.
I don't think they wanted people
to know. Purposeful.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think they cared if people knew or not. Right.
Yeah, but doesn't that seem strange? Because this should be like this should be an exciting thing, you know.
But Mary Beth has more to say.
Oh, let's listen.
But as someone who follows rocket development and the space industry as just a special interest of mine, I see this as a great opportunity for Jeju and for Korea. So obviously, there could be tourists in Jeju that would love to see a launch in person. If we look at NASA in Houston, Texas, or Cape Canaveral, Florida, and now Boca Chica, Texas with SpaceX, they have thousands of people that come out to watch their test flights and their routine launches because it's an amazing thing to witness. Those people need a place to stay. They need a place to eat. So of course, in those areas, it generates business for the local restaurants and hotels. It generates revenue. So of course, on a surface level, that's definitely a positive. On a deeper level, I do feel that it's almost past time for Korea to be a stronger player in the space industry.
Okay, before we get to that point by her, she's right. When I spoke to the government about the space launch, their interest is purely tourism. Because
right.
Which is going to be, it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with that. Obviously, they didn't promote this, but with the other launches, it could actually be Jeju. It is Jeju trying to diversify its,
it's tourism. Well, that was, first of all, she sounds great.
Yeah, I know.
She's got such a great voice. Second of all, no, that was exactly. I think she hit the nail so concisely and clearly on the head that it is an opportunity for the future. So, and I agree. And considering how Asia in particular is so many different countries are so close in Asia, that I think it's not just tourism for Koreans. It could be tourism for many different countries right in our vicinity, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And here's Mary again.
Take a look at our neighbors, China and Japan. They are light years ahead of Korea in the space industry. JAXA, the Japanese space agency, for example, has a continuous partnership with NASA in the US. JAXA astronauts and NASA astronauts are constantly working together on the ISS. I mean, that's a huge partnership that maybe Korea could even be a part of one day if they develop the industry to the same level. Because there's not much going on in the news about it, even though I speak intermediate Korean and I'd be able to understand, I still can't find any information about the space industry in Korea. And so I sort of assume that, well, maybe it's just not their priority, you know? But whether a publicly funded government organization or a private company uses the facilities in Jeju, just hearing about a spaceport here really excites me because it shows that there is progress being made. There is an interest in the space industry. There are developments going on. And of course, if the service is needed, then companies will show up to provide the service. So
it's interesting that she's talking about Japan and NASA and stuff like that, because what my news org kind of specializes in space for, I don't know why, but that's what we do.
Okay.
And I end up covering a lot about the Artemis Accords, and what NASA is doing is signing up all these countries to participate in the safe exploration of space. And those who are part of these Artemis Accords are also trying to go and prepare to go back to the moon and then eventually Mars.
Right.
So that is sort of what she's talking. Well, not specifically that she's talking about going to the ISS, but this is sort of the realm that she's talking about. This could open up new realms of cooperation for Korea and the world, which is a really interesting thought.
Agreed.
Continue with Mary.
There's definitely developments going on, and I hope it continues. Of course, as with anything, there will be people for it and people against it. I completely understand people who have concerns and wonder about safety, environmental impact, so on and so forth. But frankly, after a few years of really diving into the regulations behind the space industry, rocket development, what have you, I truly feel that people against the space industry are simply just lacking information.
Now, I'm cutting her off. She's gone through all the points, everything that we want to hit on this topic.
Really did. I love it.
Yeah. So do you have concerns about environment? Have you heard concerns about the environment about these things?
No, I mean, because to be completely honest with you, it's not something since moving to Jeju and Korea in general. It's far away from the States. It's far away from information. I don't keep up on it at all, except for when SpaceX a little bit. So I have never thought about the environmental impact of it, to be honest with you.
I attended a conference about this back at the Jeju Forum. This is when I really started looking into the Jeju the Jeju space industry. And there was a woman there who was very upset about it. She actually tried to railroad the end of the presentation just to yell and complain about the environmental impact.
Okay.
And I don't think Mary discusses this in her note, but there's also a contingent of anti-American, people on the island who are against it. They're the same people who are against the naval base,
of course,
the airport,
of course,
and the rocket launch, which there are concerns there because it's like this launch was a South Korean Defense Department. But do you think this makes Jeju more of a target for North Korea than it was before?
Gosh, no, I don't. But we could talk about that for hours. That's like a debate that could go back and forth. You know.
No, I'm with you. I don't know how.
Yeah, and if anything, the one thing I'll just say about North Korea, it'd be one thing if it's if there was, how do I say this, but not be, it's not stable. To me, North Korea and the choices and the decisions they make are not done. There's not a stability behind some of this, it's often living here, it's part of our everyday life, and I'll get messages from the States like, oh, is everybody okay over there? And I'm like, yeah, no, this is just everyday life. To me, North Korea feels very reactionary versus, so is there a concern? Sure. But is it a concern? No. Does that make sense? It's there, but it's not, I'm not sitting here thinking about it by any means. You?
Yeah, I don't consider it. No, I don't see it going up any more of a, like, we're Jeju, like we're all the way down here.
Right.
We can get into, like you said, we can get into a bunch of this stuff later, but I don't think it's really necessary.
And in the future, maybe if things get
politics
connected,
of it.
Right, exactly. And if maybe things get connected to this, then maybe, but for right now, doesn't seem, Wow, I
feel that people fear what they don't understand. And I mean,
sorry?
I didn't know that was coming.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. There's a little bit of internet's off. Apologies, listeners. Here comes Barry. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way.
Rocket science is not common knowledge and not very easy. So, and for some people, it may be boring, and therefore they don't want to understand it because there's so much information that you kind of need to learn to understand what's going on. I feel that people don't understand it and they find any reason to be against it. But if people take the time to really look into what's going on and to educate themselves, I don't see how you could ever be against it. But I'll leave you with a cheesy philosophical reason for why I'm so in support of this. Sci-fi classics like Star Trek tell us that space is the final frontier, right? And even though that's a bit dramatic in Hollywood, it's absolutely the truth. Like, humans are curious and we're always pushing the limits. And so I feel that Korea doesn't deserve to be left behind in that. I've been feeling, as a space enthusiast, I've been feeling like, wow, Korea is just being so left behind. And I've lived in Korea for 7 years now. So it would be amazing to see real growth in space programs and rockets here. Because obviously I'm sentimental towards this country and I want them to be included in something that I know will be extremely important in the future.
And that was Mary Beth Gainey, everybody. Thank you so much for sending your
she could have her own podcast.
I know.
She's so well spoken. She's so, all of her thoughts were so well put together. I'm quite in awe of that whole, all those sound clips.
We could have another space corner, in fact, with that.
I mean, for God's sake, she was just right on it. Yeah, that was, she certainly made me think. Now I'm going to be thinking a lot more. Most of the points she made were not anything that's ever crossed my mind outside of just general excitement. So those were very interesting to listen to.
Yeah, she's really knowledgeable of the space industry, and I like the romanticization of it. I do think that's important.
That's exactly.
Like, imagine. I mean, I have a kid. Imagine my kid watching space launches and knowing what's possible from Jeju, which, like, we're on the island where the gumgul, the tangerine tree, was called the university tree because people had that because that was the only way to send their kids to university. And now they have rockets launching from the same once tangerine farms, but to dream of potentially being a part of those teams. It's
agreed.
It's
and to
fantastic.
have, and for Koreans in general, like the excitement I felt way back in the day. I mean, everybody, it was a rush. There was just electricity through the air, when you were about to watch these launches. And so for Korean kids to maybe in the future get to have someone like, whoa, that's us, it's a whole nother thing. And I don't think a lot of our generation and then the generations behind us haven't had a lot of new things per se. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, that's a whole nother subject, but yeah.
But things are steamrolling here on Jeju. In October, there was the announcement of a new project to build like antennas as part of this space complex, right? So they're going to build a bunch of these large in Halim that will be called 5 antennas with an investment of 100 billion won, which is about $76 million US. And it'd be the Jeju Space Industry Development Initiative that we mentioned last time. That's part of that. And those antennas are supposed to be built in the first half of next year, and there will eventually be 12 of them.
Wow.
And so these antennas will all be about monitoring the, what are they called? The orbitals, the spacecraft, not the spacecraft, the end. Man, tired,
We're losing it. But yes.
In space. And Governor Yoon Ho said there are high expectations from residents and domestic related companies for Jeju's promotion of the private space industry. So we'll keep looking on this. I'll keep us updated about when the next launch is, when or if it will happen, and what's going on with that. And that's been another episode of Me, You, and Jeju. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to us on YouTube. And also, if you could take a moment to leave us a comment and a review on Google Podcast and Apple Podcast, that really helps to, get more people to learn about what we do here. So again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Music is by Jason Lisco. My co-host is Alexis Joy, and I'm, of course, Darryl Coote. Till next time, ciao.